Well, that was certainly an information dump. I understand now. I kind of think I understand, too, why he doesn't want to break the curse. I wonder if he thinks that, if he breaks his curse, then his mom and sister will go back to living in the town, and his mom and the king will never get reunited. Like, they're happy now. They were forced apart many years ago because of this witch, and so now he's just sucking it up. And also he doesn't want to admit that, well, this is the reason why I got cursed, and we're only here because I got cursed and stuff. But on the upside, this could be a potential way for us to get him unstepbrothered from us, which would be a-okay with me. We'll see how this plays out. Anyway, I did not get the chance to discuss Rod's curse with him later that night, nor did I get the chance to speak with Parfait and Delora about my suspicions of Sir Alcaster. Days go by, but still I find myself overwhelmed by preparations for the ball. Things become more frantic every day, making it difficult for me to have any time to speak with anyone. This ball's gonna be fabulous. It's been planned for months. Months! Usually in games and stories and stuff, it's like, 3 days from now, we shall have a royal ball. This is like taking months for this royal ball, which is much more realistic in my opinion. Eventually, I decide to write a letter containing my suspicions of Sir Alcaster. I tell Parfait and Delora that I believe he might be the witch they are looking for. This is not the witch you are looking for. It's Sir Mithros, it's so obvious. I also add that I believe Fritz might somehow be involved, though my suspicions are not as well founded with him. To make matters worse, he went and disappeared. I have not heard anyone mention his name here for a very long time. I am forcefully pulled from my thoughts when I collide with someone. The linens I had been holding scatter over the floor. Excuse me, I did not... I look up and my voice trails off when I see who I bumped into. The actual witch, though! Lost in your thoughts? Sir Mithros looks at me, something veiled in his smiling eyes. I suppose those are the linens the Queen asked for. Yes, please excuse me. I begin gathering up the linens, but as I reach out for one, Sir Mithros picks it up first. Allow me to help you. I will be fine. But this was partially my fault. Let me assist you. Do not poison the linen, please. I bite my lip and do not protest as Sir Mithros helps me gather the rest of the linens. I'm contemplating my schedule for the rest of the day when I realize that Sir Mithros has been talking. I don't suppose you have any idea on who that maid is. Maid? There's a cold amusement in Sir Mithros's gaze. Surely you've heard the rumor of the young prince having been seen with a royal maid somewhere around town. Rumor has it that Prince Rod has found love among the common folk, much like his royal stepfather has. Rod with a maid? As far as I'm aware, the only maid he has been out in town with has been... me! I freeze as Sir Mithros straightens, patting down his clothes for dust before holding out some of the linens to me. It is true I wish him the best, though I wish he would be more discreet about it. A royal scandal is the last thing we need right now. I shakily take the linens from Sir Mithros as he inclines his head to me. Have a good day, Lucette. I walk to the dining hall in a haze, my mind whirling with the implications of what Sir Mithros just said. I'm sure it was those noble women who spread this rumor. So what? The king married a baker! What? It's not like there's no precedent for this. Ah, Lucette. Thank you for bringing these to me. Just leave them on the table. I curtsy after placing the linens down as commanded. If that is all... Lucette. I straighten at the tone of Ophelia's voice. When I look up, I see that her expression is carefully still. I am about to ask you something that you might not want to answer, but I very much hope you will. I will answer if I can. Good. Ophelia sits down on one of the dining table chairs and folds her hands on her lap. I've been trying to ignore it since palace gossip is mostly false, but I can't help my curiosity. I wanted to ask about your relationship with my son. What? I understand you and Rod were out together in town a few days ago. Do you want to tell me what happened? Do I want to save? Absolutely. She's worried about her son. It's not like we were doing anything. We were just... I think I can trust you. Stepmom, also future mom-in-law. Maybe. Let's try. If Ophelia is asking me about these rumors, then I can only imagine what sort of story those women made up. Prince Rod was just on his way somewhere when he chanced upon me. When he saw that I was in trouble with two noble women, he stopped to intervene. That is all. Rod said the same thing. Oh, good. Then why did you ask me, Your Majesty? To see what you thought about the situation. I don't think anyone should get a say in what your relationship with Rod is. My relationship with Rod? Him. Oh, good. I'm glad I trusted you. I like you, Lucette, and I'm certain that you're good for Rod. If I had my way, I would let him court you. Feel my heat. I feel the heat in my cheeks as I trip over my words. I feel my cheeks in my heat. What the heck does that even mean? The prince and I are not in a relationship. A member of the royal family cannot end up with a servant. Where there's love, there's hope. Social status shouldn't stop you from being happy, Lucette. Then what about the fact that I am Rod's stepsister? I bite down on that statement fiercely. I already know what role I am playing here, and I cannot break it. Ophelia looks at me with a complicated expression before she sighs. I will not push you on this any further. But be careful, Lucette. Your closeness with my son and daughter has not gone unnoticed. I do not believe in limiting relationships because of one's status, but I understand. I curtsy as I move toward the dining hall's entrance. What did Ophelia mean by that closeness not going unnoticed? Later that day, as I am waiting outside the throne room for Emelaigne to finish one of her classes, two maids walk toward me and stop in front of me. Anybody getting an icky vibe right now? Don't know if it's the eyeless ladies, or just the fact that I've kind of had this feeling before. Lucette, isn't it? What is it? I've already finished all of my tasks for the day. Oh, I'm sure you have. Probably rushed through all of them so that you could hang around the prince and princess tonight. Oh no, not that. Don't insinuate that. Do not insinuate what I think you're insinuating. I have my eyes closed. I don't know what the next line says. I'm just like, oh, do not insinuate this. The head housekeeper's been giving you a lighter load so you can afford the time to play around, I blink at them, confused. I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't play dumb. All the servants know what you've been doing. Just because you're Princess Emelaigne's personal maid doesn't make you better than the rest of us. I'd be careful not to get too big for your boots, Lucette. Are you threatening me? What if we are? I don't know who this is. Then I'd be very disappointed in you. Yeah, my girl! Princess Emelaigne! Emelaigne moves to stand beside me, a disapproving expression on her face. I did not expect such petty cruelty from the two of you. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Your Highness! You really do have a talent for getting yourself into trouble. I was just standing here, I swear! Rod. Rod pauses briefly, his eyes meeting mine for a second before he looks at the maids. Don't you have better things to do than bully my sister's maid? We apologize, Your Highness. We'll be on our way. The two maids run off. Emelaigne turns to look at me. Are you okay? I'm about to answer when I notice that Rod is abruptly walking away from us. I frown at his back. He had only just started being nice to me, and now he is back to acting as if I do not exist. What did I do? Emelaigne puts her hands on my back and gently pushes me forward. You wanted to ask him something, right? I could see it in your eyes. Emelaigne smiles as she pushes the door to the throne room open. I have a few more questions to ask my teacher. I'll be a while. But she disappears into the throne room before I can finish. I glance down the hallway Rod just disappeared down, and then back at the throne room. My thoughts whirl together in a vague mess until I make my decision. Wait! At the sound of my approaching footsteps, Rod turns and looks at me. He scowls but does not say anything. I mean, we made the decision to go run off to him. We're gonna tell him off. Listen, Baka, don't you pull this on me now. The words spill out of me before I can even think on them. What have I done now to make you angry with me? Nothing. He turns away and I glare as I follow closely behind him. You expect me to believe that? You can at least look at me when I'm talking to you. I reach out a hand to his elbow and pull him back so that he is facing me. Rod... But the words die in my throat when I see the expression on his face. His face is red and he refuses to look me in the eye. My surprise causes me to release him. Rod quickly turns around and begins to walk away. Boy! I am left to stare dumbly after him. What is wrong with him? Normally he is not so afraid to speak his mind. I frown as I feel a dull ache throbbing somewhere deep in my chest. What is this? Why do I feel sad? Normally Rod's distance does not make me feel like this. And yet now... Am I really so sad that he does not want to speak with me? You're in love, girl. You're in love. I shake my head and take a deep breath to still my mind. Oh no, I feel a sneeze coming on too. Go away, sneeze. It is better not to think about it. Another chapter. The ball! The ball is finally here! Oh my goodness. This is where we all die. It is the day of the ball, and I am waiting for Emelaigne to finish her last dance rehearsal. The lesson was over an hour ago, but Emelaigne remains here to continue practicing the steps. Meanwhile, I am preoccupied with thoughts of Rod's curse. I cannot believe that Rod traded his voice for a title. So the reason the king was able to find Ophelia was because of Rod. It is a little difficult to wrap my head around the implications, but one thing bothers me. Rod told me why he has the curse, but he gave no explanation as to how to break it. How did it go in the original fairy tale? Emelaigne finishes up the last steps of her routine before walking over to me. I hand her the glass of water I was holding for her. Thank you, Lucette. Emelaigne must notice my curiosity because she stops to look at me quizzically. Is something the matter? I read a little bit of that fairy tale, but never finished it. Can you tell me the whole story of the Little Mermaid? The Little Mermaid? Emelaigne takes a seat on one of the chairs bordering the throne room and gestures for me to take the one opposite her. Telling a fairy tale is always a good way to wind down. Once upon a time, there was a mermaid that fell in love with a handsome prince. One day, when she swam to the surface of the ocean to find him, she saw that the prince was celebrating his birthday on the grandest ship in the kingdom. The Little Mermaid was captivated by the human party and stayed to watch. Then suddenly, a violent storm hit, and the prince was thrown from the ship into the ocean. The Little Mermaid saved the prince and took him safely to shore, but she could not stay long. She eventually had to return to the ocean and leave him on land. This is similar to Viorica's rescue. The Little Mermaid was so in love with the prince that she went to see a witch who offered to trade her a potion that would turn her mermaid's tail into legs. They struck a deal. The mermaid would sacrifice her beautiful voice for legs so that she could live with the prince on land. So in Rod's case, he traded away his voice to become a prince. However, the sea witch gave the Little Mermaid a warning and said that if she wasn't able to make the prince fall in love with her, there would be consequences. Consequences? Yes. Namely, if the prince fell in love and married someone else, the mermaid's heart would break and she would dissolve into sea foam. I cannot help but recoil. My expression must betray my horror because Emelaigne quickly shakes her head. There's no need to be worried. Rod has said that his curse is different from the fairy tale. And you believe him? Emelaigne shrugs helplessly as she puts down her now empty glass of water. The Fairytale Curse always twists the original fairy tale, right? Besides, it's not as if Rod traded his voice for legs, and I've never heard of a cursed person that dies because they cannot break their curse. That may be true, but Emelaigne does not know what Rod traded his voice for. She does not know that he did it to become a prince for Viorica. Rod is already hiding things from her. Is it possible that Rod will die the day Viorica marries Desmond? I hope not. Later that day, I find Rod in the dining hall. He appears to be inspecting the seating arrangements for the night's banquet. He glances up briefly to look at me before returning his attention to the placards with the guests' names on them. What is it? I have been looking for you all morning. I am distracted from what I am about to say when I notice Rod switching the position of two placards. I frown as I catch the name on one of them. He is moving Viorica's place at the table. Is he trying to make sure she sits as far away from him as possible? Surely you have better things to do than stay in here. What happens if you cannot break your curse? Rod's movements stutter before he shakes his head sharply. That is something you do not need to know. I'm not going to get angry at him. Please. I like you. She likes you. You like her. Sebi likes both of you. I just need to know you're not going to die, dude. Not like I'm going to, murder Viorica so that he doesn't not die, but come on. Something aches deep in my chest at Rod's coldness. Please. Ugh. Rod startles so strongly that he almost drops the placard he's holding. Please tell me. We have been partners for months now. But I've barely... Yes, I know that it is an unusual partnership, and that most of our helping each other has been subtle, but... I am only one good deed away from breaking my curse, while you seem to be no closer to breaking your curse than when we started. I will do whatever I can to help you with your curse, Rod. So please, let me help you. Silence falls. Moments later, Rod sighs and looks away from me. Some unspeakably sad emotion shines through his eyes. Even if I wanted your help, Lucette, there's nothing you can do. Dread settles in the pit of my stomach at Rod's words. Could I be right? Will Rod actually die if he does not manage to break his curse? Emelaigne told me the story of the Little Mermaid. She said that the mermaid dies if the prince marries someone else. Rod, when Viorica marries Desmond, will you... My voice trails off when I hear the sound of the door behind us. Bad timing. Is it Ophelia or the king? Rod rushes forward and grabs me before I can glance back at the door. Ow! I become aware of a weight holding me down to the floor. The impact of the ground against my head blurs my vision, making it impossible for me to see what is happening at first. Am I underneath the dining table? I struggle to try and sit up, but the weight pushes down on me again, forcing me to be still. Quiet. Rod? Why did he push me underneath the table? I am about to ask him aloud when the sound of footsteps silences me. I cannot help but remember what Sir Mithras was saying about rumors. If Rod and I were seen alone together by the servants, the rumors will no doubt get worse. But why is Rod doing this? I stay quiet as the people that enter the dining hall begin to talk. How strange for this place to be empty at this time of day. There is a pause, and then another voice speaks up. I figured it was Mithras. How strange for this place to be empty at this time of day.
You better have good news for me, Mithras.
Sir Alcaster and Sir Mithras? Rod's hands tighten on my shoulders. Everything is as you requested, Sir Alcaster. There should be no issues.
There better not be. You've disappointed me before, Mithras. I would be careful not to try my patience again.
Yes, Sir Alcaster. Sir Mithras sounds oddly subservient. But why? The two of them are both ranked equally, and neither of them should have to answer to anyone other than the king. Unless Sir Alcaster truly is the witch and is forcing Sir Mithras to obey him with a spell. Lucette. Figure it out.
Wait a few minutes after I leave. We should not be seen together.
I do not hear Sir Mithros respond, but I can hear Sir Alcaster leaving the room. Sir Mithros sighs out, but is otherwise silent when he leaves the room after a few moments. I exhale fully as the door finally closes behind Sir Mithros.
This is bad.
I was so engrossed in Sir Alcaster and Sir Mithros' conversation that I only just now realized that Rod is hovering over me. Yes! I'm so glad there's a picture.
Hey, are you alright? Are you hurt? You look a little...
Rod suddenly pauses as he notices our positions. He stares at me for a few moments, eyes wide. He scrambles out from underneath the dining table, and by the time I do the same, he is standing far away from me, his gaze fixed on the wall. He's bright red, you're bright red. You both match Sebi. My goodness. He is bright red. It would be funny if I weren't sure I was the same color.
It seems that Sir Alcaster really is the witch if he has the ability to make Sir Mithros obey him.
Misdirection! Mithros is misdirecting you.
Lady Parfait should be told immediately.
Rod turns on his heel to leave the dining room. Rod, wait.
What? This is urgent, Princess. I can't just...
When Viorica marries Decimond, will you die? Rod pauses for a moment, but I can tell from his pained expression that he will not speak.
You're running out of time, Rod.
My eyes flit between Sebi and Rod. What does that mean?
Nothing.
He turns away from me once again and starts walking away. Rod. There must be something in my voice that makes Rod stop because he turns to look at me. Please stop running away from this.
What would knowing the answer achieve, Lucette?
Though Rod's words are harsh, his tone is soft.
There is nothing anyone can do. Leave it alone, Lucette. It's for the best.
I cannot help but get mad at Rod's dismissive tone. I move toward him, frowning. How can you say something like that? You are not the only person that will be affected if you keep refusing to do anything to break your curse. Can you imagine what your death would do to your sister? To your mother? Losing you would destroy them. Rod's face is suddenly inches away from mine. He places his hands to the wall behind me, caging me in. His face is flushed with anger, but the look in his eyes is tormented.
My family has been dealing with the consequences of my actions for the majority of my life. Don't think that I don't know what effect my curse has on the people closest to me. Besides, I don't want to involve you in this too.
His voice is a whisper, but I can still hear his words. Rod. Rod pushes away from me and stalks off as I stare after him. He says that, but then he still does nothing to try and break his curse. I do not understand him at all. What is stopping him? We need to know. Maybe he doesn't die. Maybe he actually turns into a mermaid. That'd be pretty neat. You know, in a weird kind of way. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Rod is absent from the palace for the rest of the day, and returns only once the sun is set to prepare for the ball. I have not been able to talk to him since, but I assume that he has been to the Marchand to tell Delora and Parfait about our suspicions of Sir Alcaster being a witch. I hope they come up with an effective plan for dealing with him. The palace is not safe so long as he is here. The ball is just about to start that evening, and I have been asked to make sure none of the guests are lost and wandering the hallways. I have been walking around for a while, directing any late guests in the right direction. That should be everyone. But as I turn the corner, I notice two people lingering by a column. Excuse me, the throne room is... I pause when I look more closely at the two men in front of me. I recognize one of them instantly. Yeah, okay, Sir Alcaster, but who's... I mean, it could be Mithros. He's got the same hair. If he knows illusion magic like someone else I used to know. Maybe. Thinking either Mithros or Fritz. I can't quite tell. What's Cyril Castor doing outside of the throne room? And who is that man he's with?
Ah, Lucette.
Cyril Castor gestures me toward him, and I approach warily. Okay. It's just someone we've never met before.
This is Varg. He is one of the guests for the ball.
Varg sweeps aside his cape as he bows, and I curtsy and dip my head to hide my expression. I have not heard of a Varg, and why would he be bowing to a mere maid? Also, why is he wearing such an elaborate costume and mask? Also, why is he wearing such an elaborate costume and mask? Him! This is not a masquerade ball. If Varg is an acquaintance of Cyril Castor, there is no telling what or who he truly is. I don't like this.
Varg is one of the suitors for Princess Emelaigne. Would you please escort him to the throne room? I will be along shortly.
Varg's politeness is even more suspicious. Of course, Cyril Castor. I meet Varg's gaze briefly and cannot help but frown at the way he is smirking at me. This way. Varg and I make our way toward the throne room. I cannot help but feel wary of the fact that he is following behind me where I cannot see him.
If the maids are this lovely, the princess must be truly beautiful.
I grit my teeth at the sound.
What? It was meant as a compliment. There's no need to look at me like that.
Varg looks at me curiously.
Are maids not allowed to speak in this place?
I have nothing to say.
Not the most cheerful person on staff, are you?
Thankfully, the doors to the throne room appear as soon as we turn a corner, and I do not have to come up with a response to his words. We are here. I gesture toward the throne room and move to leave, but Varg's voice stops me.
You should at the very least escort me inside and introduce me to the princess, don't you think? Isn't that what a maid should do?
Technically, that was the announcer's job. But Varg came so late, he probably already missed the introductions.
I wouldn't want to think badly of any of the servants of the palace.
Take a deep breath to calm myself down before turning toward the doors. Follow me. This is not going to go well. I can tell the moment I step into the room that the official introductions have already passed. Most of the guests have already begun to mingle and scatter across the throne room as the band sets up. No one notices when I walk into the throne room in front of Varg. I do not trust Varg, not if he is associated with Cyril Castor. I might have time to warn someone about him while he is distracted, but who? Saving again. I mean, Rod's my boo, but he's not really the one in danger. He's going after Emelaigne. He's going after Emelaigne. This might be a bad idea. I mean, maybe Rod would help. But I think we need to warn Emelaigne. Emelaigne, my girl. If I don't get a crystal, I'll know that I messed up. My attention is quickly drawn to where Emelaigne is moving between groups of people, introducing herself and making light conversation. I know this will be frowned upon, but Emelaigne's safety must come first. Besides, Rod would approve of me putting his sister first, I'm sure. I make my way quickly over to Emelaigne and curtsy just off to the side, trying to draw as little attention to myself as possible. Princess Emelaigne, may I have a word? I'm surprised you're not wearing a nicer dress, girl. Emelaigne is clearly shocked at my intrusion, but she masks it well. Excuse me, it appears my maid has something for me. I draw her closer to the walls where the crowd blocks us from view. I wasn't expecting you to be here, Lucette. Not that I mind, but won't you get into trouble? There's no time for that. I take her hand in mine and look at her somberly. You have to watch out for this man in a mask. Cyril Castor brought him to the ball. Blech. Why should I be worried, then? I cannot exactly tell her that I think he is a witch right now. There are too many people looking. Just please be wary of him. I'm sure there's nothing to be worried about from anyone here, Lucette. Especially if Sir Alcaster is involved. Oh good, you're here too. Phew.
On the contrary, if Sir Alcaster is involved, I would also recommend staying on your guard, Emelaigne.
Rod? I turned in shock to see Rod suddenly standing beside me. Oh good. Phew. That worked out well.
You should trust Lucette. Excuse me.
I jump back at the sound of Varg's voice. Rod takes a step forward and places his hands on my shoulders to steady me.
I don't believe we've been introduced.
Varg looks at me for a few moments, but I say nothing. He eventually turns to Emelaigne, a wolfish smile on his face.
My name is Varg, and you must be Princess Emelaigne. The tales of your beauty did not do you justice.
I'm kind of convinced now that this is Fritz. Behind a mask. This is all a ploy to get Sir Alcaster's son to be the next king. I'm convinced. The wolfish grin? Just because one of the fairytale curses that I saw on the stained glass window in the main menu is Little Red Riding Hood. I'm worried. I'm so worried! Emelaigne flushes as Varg reaches for her hand. He presses a kiss to the back of it, still grinning. I can feel Rod tense behind me.
May I have the first dance?
Emelaigne bites down on her lower lip as she stares at him. I become acutely aware of just how quiet the throne room has become. She cannot refuse him with so many people watching her. I feel sick, but cannot bring myself to say anything more as Emelaigne puts her hand in Varg's. I accept, Lord Varg. The moment Emelaigne makes her way to the center of the dance floor, a man signals to the band and the musicians start playing.
This feels wrong.
I can only nod as I watch Varg pull Emelaigne closer. At first, it is just he and Emelaigne dancing, but then other couples gradually trickle in to join them. I do not like this at all. Rod and I watch in silence as the first dance continues on. I know for a fact that Rod must see the dreamy smile on Emelaigne's face as certainly as I can. What happened? When the music stops, both of us move as one toward Emelaigne. Even though the dance is over and Varg has released her, they still stand close together in the center of the room. The silence is interrupted when the double doors open and Sir Alcaster, along with two knights, stalk into the center of the room where Emelaigne and Varg stand. Their arrival causes an uneasy stir in the crowds. The king rises from his throne, eyebrows drawn.
Alcaster, is there some kind of disturbance?
Alcaster says nothing as the knights stationed around the room approach Emelaigne and Varg and stand around them encircling them. Emelaine's expression shifts from confusion to fear. The crowd becomes even more anxious.
Alcaster, explain this.
Alcaster briefly glances at him but says nothing. He turns back to his knights and snaps his fingers. The knights pull out their swords and point them at Emelaigne. I reach out to grab Rod's hand before he can make his way toward her. Rod, it is too dangerous.
I know, but
thoughtless actions have the potential to put Emelaigne in even more danger. Rod's only response is to tighten his grip on my hand. I place my other hand over his to reassure him, and slowly but surely his grip begins to loosen. I turn my gaze back to the king.
Alcaster, stop this immediately. What do you think you are doing? Something I should have done a long time ago. I have been nothing but loyal to the kingdom, and all I have ever wanted was for Angielle to thrive. But ever since the queen died, this kingdom has become weak. It is because you are a weak ruler, Gennaro. What?
The people were more productive back then, more disciplined during the late queen's reign. The kingdom has become less productive without fear to drive them. When there is power, there is order.
Power is not something that should be needlessly used to control people. It is used to protect them. You of all people should know that.
Sir Alcaster shakes his head.
I, of all people, know that order is what makes a hierarchy stronger. I am only doing what is necessary. I am reorganizing the system. Hand over the crown, Gennaro.
Sir Alcaster turns his head to Varg, who remains standing beside a scared Emelaigne.
You will obey me if you do not want your precious daughter harmed.
Please, leave my daughter out of this. Emelaigne steps back, her eyes now brimming with tears.
Varg, seize the princess.
As soon as Sir Alcaster gives the order, Rod immediately lets go of my hand and rushes toward his sister. Rod, no! I quickly follow after him, but Rod suddenly stops in his tracks. I bump abruptly into his back. Rod?
Varg!
Sir Alcaster's booming voice echoes around the room, which has suddenly gone eerily silent. My eyes move to Varg, but he is standing motionless. What is happening? Finally, Varg smirks. He steps to the side, standing in front of Emelaigne as if to block her from view. Sir Varg? Yes, it is. It's Fritz. He's calling him old man. But, until we know for sure that Varg is Fritz, we'll just continue on.
You must be delusional, old man. I am not letting you anywhere near the princess.
The knight's next movements are a blur as they rush at Sir Alcaster. In mere moments he has been disarmed and pinned to the ground. Several more knights have also appeared from behind to surround Sir Alcaster. A man emerges from in between the circle of knights. He moves to stand beside Varg and Emelaigne. Oh my goodness, what is going on? Sir Mithros looks at Sir Alcaster disdainfully.
What is the meaning of this, Mithros? We had a deal.
The anger is now palpable in Sir Alcaster's flushed face. Did we now?
Mithros, explain yourself.
Sir Mithros drops to one knee in front of the king. Of course, your majesty. He raises his head slightly to look at the king. I have known for a long while that the man you see before you is a traitor. I was even aware of his plans, but I could not tell you of them without any evidence. 2 of your knights had tried to inform you of these plans before, but we all looked down on them with disdain. I had to make sure that I did not come unprepared like they did.
Jurian and Garland.
Oh, that's why they left. What? Both of them knew of Sir Alcaster's plans? Was that the reason why they were dishonorably discharged? For false accusations? I knew enough of his plan that I could thwart it. This is why I thought the best way to reveal his dastardly ways was to craft a fake alliance with him. Really? You were good all along? I thought I had you pinned, boy. Sir Varg and I have been working together to unravel Alcaster's plans, your majesty. Varg is an invaluable accomplice. Wait, so Sir Mithras has been pretending to work with Sir Alcaster this whole time? And so we arrive at the events of tonight. I apologize for undertaking this task without seeking your counsel, your majesty. But I could think of no better way to end this madness once and for all.
You lying snake!
Sir Mithras stands and turns to Alcaster. He gestures at him dismissively. Seize him. The knight's next movements are a blur. The man rushed Sir Alcaster all at once, and in mere moments Sir Alcaster has been disarmed and is now pinned to the ground. Isn't Sir Alcaster a witch? Why is he not using his magic? Because he's not a witch. Maybe I'm still right.
Mithros, I am indebted to you for saving us. The whole kingdom is.
I only did what was necessary, your majesty. The king glances at the knights, then at Sir Alcaster, his gaze steely.
Take him away.
Sir Alcaster struggles uselessly against the knights as they drag him away. He is nearly out the door when he starts screaming at the king.
Gennaro, you are a fool! That man is a witch! A snake! You cannot trust him!
No, Alcaster, I was wrong to put my trust in you.
Even as Sir Alcaster is pulled from the room, we can hear him babbling in the hallways about a witch. I was right! Sir Alcaster never used any magic to escape. Was he truly not a witch?
Are you all right, princess?
I am pulled from my thoughts when I hear Varg's voice. He is now trying to comfort a shaken Emelaigne. For a few moments he looks away and his eyes meet mine. He smiles, but it is fleeting, and moments later his attention is back on Emelaigne.